What's up guys, how's everybody doing? On this video we are back to our roots and we're taking a look at some hardware for retro gaming. In this case, very simple hardware, a GeForce 6200 and an OEM Sound Blaster live. This video is a little bit different. I left a bit of footage after each game we tested so you can have a listen to the Sound Blaster live. Starting with the GeForce 6200, there's absolutely nothing special about this card. It's the entry card to the GeForce 6000 series released in 2005. If the specs mean anything to you, it's based on the NV43 chip. It has 3 vertex engines and 4 pixel pipelines with a memory bus of either 64 or 128 bits. Of course, the one we're using here is the bare minimum 64-bit card. Something to note is that this card has DDR2 memory versus regular DDR on the previous generation, the infamous GeForce FX series. Sound Blaster Live cards are really cool because they have EAX and direct sound acceleration. They are positional sound APIs that make games like Doom 3 come alive while taking the load off the CPU, not the case of the card we're using. So Creative at the time was criticized for this, but they released some Sound Blaster Live cards to OEMs like Dell without some of the regular Sound Blaster Live capabilities, and that's exactly what we have here. This card was pulled off a Dell computer at some point before falling into my hands, but you still get great sound out of it. It's still a good card for retro gaming and I don't think they should be dismissed. So you can hear exactly how it sounds. I pulled a cable straight to the camera input, bypassing the camera mic. So here's our setup for the video. We are using a test bench with an MSI Intel chipset motherboard, a Pentium 4 3GHz and 1GB of DDR memory. Oh, and if you want to build a test bench like this for yourself, I have a video on it and I will link it right now to a card on the top left corner of the video. We have quite a few games to test, so let's start with Red Faction. It's an FPS released in 2001, and if you played the classic Half-Life game, this one is kinda similar. I enjoyed the storyline on it. It starts with a rebellious bunch of enslaved miners in Mars, and you fight your way to liberate your people. Of course, being one of the oldest games in the lineup, the GeForce 6200 does very well in 1024x768 at more than 60 FPS. Also released in 2001, GTA 3 was the first third-person GTA and what would be the staple of GTA games for so long. As you can see, the game plays pretty well at 1024x768, not a stellar performance by any means, but it's to be expected from our bare minimum spec video card, and some concessions need to be made and tweaks are necessary, but overall an okay gaming experience. Quite enough to have fun with GTA 3. It's only logical to follow GTA 3 by what I think was the best third-person game from that era, Mafia. Being released in 2002, it's a bit more demanding than GTA, but even with some extra stuff, the game is quite playable. Again, you won't be able to play in the highest resolution, 800x600, it's pretty much the limit here, but still an enjoyable experience. And if you haven't played this version, I recommend you give it a try. Or if you're not interested in a retro system, you can try the 2020 version Mafia Definitive Edition, and that gives the game a makeover but offers the same type of experience. Released in 2003, Need for Speed Underground was really a game changer for the genre, inspired by the street racing culture laid on the world through the Fast and the Furious movie franchise. On Need for Speed Underground, you race to raise money to update your car with mods that would make it go faster or just make it look better until eventually you could buy a faster car. At 800x600 in medium settings, the game runs pretty well at 60 FPS with a few drops here and there. Overall, still looks pretty good, and if you don't mind the 800x600 resolution, it's a pretty good experience. Halo Combat Evolved is always a good game to test hardware. The PC port was released in 2003 and I always enjoy testing the video cards with this game. It's fairly demanding and it's interesting to see how a cheap office computer video card like the GeForce 6200 from 2005 can run a AAA game that really was a console selling game for the original Xbox. We also ran that game at 800 by 600 in medium settings and it stayed between 30 and 40 FPS most of the time. Doom 3 was also set to 800 by 600 in medium settings. It's a very well optimized game released in 2004 and with these settings it stayed mostly above 30 FPS, but varying a lot depending on what effects are being displayed. Overall, an okay experience. The only disappointment I had while doing the tests was Sonic Adventure 2. It was one of the main reasons I wanted to make this video, and in one way it was cool because the game actually ran, but in another way the game does this very strange thing and syncs the game speed with the frame rate. So the game is a no-go for the 6200. You would need something with a bit more processing power for that one. But keep in mind, the PC port of this game was released in 2012, so much later than the other titles and the actual video card. Alright, so finally, the last test for this video card will be the Aqua Mark III benchmark, so you can see where it stacks up with other retro video cards. It's been a while since I've done one of these and I see no better time for that. So in the end, the GeForce 6200 is quite weak at 1680 points, sitting almost 1000 points behind the next generation equivalent, the GeForce 7200 GS, and still a bit below the GeForce 4 Ti 4600. So what did you think? To tell you the truth, I came into this thinking that I was going to say that the GeForce 6200 is trash and that I wasn't going to recommend it, but after seeing how many games it actually ran, I was pretty surprised, and I think it's cool hardware for retro gaming and maybe it shouldn't be disregarded. So leave a comment on any games I might have missed or other thoughts you have about the video, and don't forget to like, subscribe, and I'll see you next time.